Friday forecast, it is Colorado week, Sean. And let's first get this out of the way. This could be the final meeting in the regular season, at least, between Nebraska and Colorado. These two teams aren't on the schedule moving forward. And games like this are going to be fewer and farther between as we move forward in college football.
Yeah, credit Tom Osborne when he was athletic director. He helped get these games on the schedule, a 4-game series that started in 2018. It's going to end here in 2024, and also those Oklahoma games that were on the schedule. And you know, when you talk about non-conference games, these were the fun ones, the ones that have some meaning, some history, some juice, especially after conference realignment. And you know, Andy, I spent a very good part of my career going to Boulder and covering these games when they were on Black Friday for all those years, and it is a bitter rivalry. I mean, these fan bases really do not like each other, and when you go into Colorado, even to this day, you can sometimes feel that hatred from those Buffalo fans.
Yeah, Matt Rule said that he was out skiing with his family in the off-season, and he said a woman came up to him and gave her a piece of his mind, and he took it all in stride and says, hey, this is what rivalries are about, right?
No question, and that's what college football is about, bitter rivalry. And Colorado's always been unique because it is kind of nestled in an NFL pro sports market. And so it is almost kind of covered like a pro sports team. The fan base almost resembles more of a pro sports crowd, more than a traditional college crowd. When you go to a game in Boulder, it almost can feel like an NFL crowd, a little harder edged, not necessarily kind of your nicer, older college crowd that you see at other places. So yeah, there is some blood between these two teams, and then you add the Deion Sanders element. What happened last year in Boulder, the way Nebraska fell apart with the 5 fumbles. And like Matt Rule said, there really wasn't much I could say. We fumbled it 5 times.
Right. This is the 4th meeting between these two schools since 2018, but it could be, like we said, the final one. Well, let's talk about Nebraska on Saturday. Complementary football, really the theme of the day.
Yeah, the way Nebraska ran the ball, they really wanted to establish that. They had the tight ends, heavy packages, trying to just kind of get the pace of the offense going. To run over 80 plays when you don't run a hurry-up tempo, that's not easy to do. It takes great efficiency, and it was 3rd down. Nebraska was 11 of 17 on their 3rd down conversions. I thought the big one that kind of swung the game early was they faced the 2nd and 30. The only real period that Nebraska's starting offense was penalized, it happened to be back-to-back plays. A false start and then an illegal crackback pass interference call set them back. They were able to get out of that. And that just tells you, with Dylan Raiola at quarterback, you know, he can make all the throws, and a 2nd and 30, no problem.
What did you think about Dylan's performance? It was fantastic, right?
You know, I think we all had an expectation of what he could be. That was better than I think anyone could have imagined. I mean, to come out in your first start, because we've been around a lot of big-name freshmen in our careers, covering not just Nebraska, other programs, and it's hard. It's really hard to come out in your first ever game and do what he did and make it look like that. You know, you might see a flash, like a Wan'Dale Robinson, like, oh, wow, he's going to be a really good player. But to do it the way he did immediately at that level, that was impressive.
Completed 70% of his passes, more than 200 yards, and a couple touchdowns. Great start. Now, on the other side of the football, in terms of defense, they played well, but obviously they have a big test, or a bigger test this week with Colorado.
They were very vanilla. I don't know if Nebraska really blitzed in this game at all last week. It was a very base package, a lot of cover 2, cover 4 drop zones. So they were careful on what they showed Colorado. They did not really come out, in my opinion, in a lot of exotic things. It was straight base, limited blitz, and they played their starters. Like Ty Robinson only played 19 snaps. So they were able to manage the snap counts for a lot of those veteran players and play, as you heard Matt Rule, 107 players got in this game last week.
That was unbelievable. This Colorado, obviously, Shedeur Sanders, everybody talks about Travis Hunter, everybody talks about. What was your take when watching that opener against North Dakota State? They can move the ball.
Yeah, Colorado, if you know, when they add the Olympic 7-on-7 football, I think Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter and Horn, that might be the team for America. Deion might coach the American 7-on-7 team in 4 years, but they looked unreal in terms of how they can throw the football. They cannot run it, though. I mean, even in the 2-minute situation at the end of the game when they're trying to kill the clock, they had a throw. So this is, I mean, you kind of know what you're going to get. And it's a matter of how aggressive do you want to be with blitzing Shedeur Sanders. Can your front 4 get to him and cause some havoc? And can you match up with that speed? Because you know Hunter and Horn. This group, they are fast. They are the best receivers you'll see all year, and maybe some of the best you'll see in college football.
Yeah, Hunter and Horn over 100 yards each. In fact, Horn almost 200, both caught 7 passes. Shedeur with almost 450 in the air in the opener against NDSU. But as we saw, the Bison actually moved the ball pretty successfully, especially that opening drive. I think Nebraska's offense can move on this defense, don't you?
Yeah, this is a defense that wasn't good a year ago, and they have a lot of new faces in there. They have some decent pass rushers, but Nebraska, they're going to want to control the pace. That you cannot turn this into a track meet. And I felt like last year, a much more limited Nebraska offense, they were forcing Colorado to play a Big Ten game, and they had control of that game in the mid-second quarter before the missed field goal and the barrage of turnovers completely flipped that game upside down.
And finally, Matt Rule talked about how important it is at Memorial Stadium Saturday to create a home field advantage. You know, he talked about even Saturday against UTEP, he had to go from 1 ear flap to 2 in terms of his headset because he just couldn't hear. How important is that crowd going to be on Saturday to make it a home field advantage?
Andy, it's going to be so loud on Saturday that you and I in the press box might need to come up with a hand signaling system.
There you go. I like that.
It's going to be loud. And the only one that I can think of recently was 2014 Miami. That's the one, kind of the comparison game. Like, this feels a lot like 2014 Miami. There's no doubt. The Michigan game in 2021 was special, too, because they had just beaten Northwestern. It kind of felt like things were going to go, and then they lost in the last minute. But this is going to be right up there with one of the best atmospheres we've seen in this stadium really in the last 25 years.
Yeah, they won that game 10 years ago against Miami. We'll see what happens on Saturday when Nebraska takes on Colorado. It's a 6:30 kick at Memorial Stadium, and it will be broadcast on NBC.